The member from Renfrew, Nipissing, Pembroke, second time. New question. The Leader of the Third Party.
My next question is also for the Premier. Over the summer, I was in every corner of this province, Speaker. I spoke to New Democrats, I spoke to Liberals, and I spoke to Conservatives, and I spoke to people who have no partisan interest whatsoever, Speaker. They all told me the exact same thing. They are frustrated, they are worried, and they are angry that this Premier is selling off Hydro One without ever consulting them, Speaker. They are growing cynical. They are growing cynical about a government that simply will not listen. Will this Premier address the concerns that people are raising and hold public hearings on the sell-off of Hydro One, Speaker?
So, Mr. Speaker, I understand that it is that this Leader of the Third Party perceives that it is in her political interest to make sure that she stirs up any concerns that people might have. I understand that that is in her best interest as she perceives it. Some might say that is cynical, Mr. Speaker. Some might say that it is cynical that when people raise concerns, because I know, Mr. Speaker, I travelled the province, I was in every corner of the province, Mr. Speaker, and I know that there are concerns. But, Mr. Speaker, it is my responsibility, and I would suggest it's all of our responsibility, to tell the whole story, Mr. Speaker, to make sure that people understand that the decision that our government has taken is about investing in this province for a brighter future, a more prosperous future, a more competitive future. That's what the decision is.
Be seated, please. Be seated, please. Thank you. Supplementary.
Speaker, what about the 82% of people who do not want to see Hydro One sold off and think these Liberals should listen to what Ontarians have to say? Yesterday, Speaker, we heard that 165 municipalities so far oppose the Liberal sell-off of Hydro One. One of their biggest complaints, Speaker, is the utter lack of any consultation whatsoever by this arrogant Premier. Sarnia Mayor Mike Bradley said that you would have to actually be Sherlock Holmes to figure out that the Liberal pre-election budget was talking about selling off Ontario's hydro utility. The Premier needs to listen, and if she won't listen to me, then she should be listening to the municipal leaders and the people of this province who are telling her that they haven't had a say and that they want to say. So, will this Premier allow public hearings, either through the OEB or through any other mechanism, on the sell-off of Hydro One?
So, Mr. Speaker, I'm glad that the Leader of the Third Party raised the commentary that was made by the Minister of, or the Mayor of Sarnia yesterday, because, Mr. Speaker, I had the opportunity to attend the Chamber of Commerce in Sarnia, Mr. Speaker. I had an opportunity.
The member from Hamilton East Stony Creek, second time. Finish, please.
It was a great opportunity. I think it was one of the first times that a Premier had actually been in recent memory, had been to speak with the businesses in Sarnia, Mr. Speaker. It was a great meeting. I had an opportunity to have a tour. But, Mr. Speaker, I will tell you, the #1 issue that the Mayor of Sarnia raised with me was the building of a road, Mr. Speaker. The Mayor of Sarnia wants money for infrastructure, Mr. Speaker. The Mayor of Sarnia knows that his and his community's productivity and competitiveness rests on having investments in infrastructure, Mr. Speaker. The Leader of the Third Party needs to flesh out her story when she's talking.
Be seated, please. Be seated, please. Thank you. Final supplementary.
Well, Speaker, it's no wonder that the people of Ontario are growing increasingly cynical about this government, considering the display we just saw. The cancellation of the gas plant, Speaker, e-health, Orange, deleted public records, the Sudbury bribery scandal, and now the sell-off of Hydro One. It's easy to understand how Ontarians have become so cynical, but it is bad for democracy, Speaker. The Premier has said that she wants to do things differently. Well, I would submit that it certainly is not too late. Will this Premier start actually doing things differently, start trying to regain the public confidence and hold public hearings before she sells off the first tranche of shares of Hydro One?
Mr. Speaker, as I have said many times, a couple of things. This was a very difficult decision, but the fact is that we must make those investments, including in infrastructure in Sarnia and in every part of the province, Hamilton, Kitchener-Waterloo, Northwestern Ontario.
Member from Lanark, come to order, second time.
That are looking for investment in infrastructure, Mr. Speaker. We made it clear in our budget, Mr. Speaker, in our platform, Mr. Speaker, that we were looking at assets and that we were looking at leveraging those assets so that we could invest in the new assets that we need for the 21st century, Mr. Speaker. And it was clear to people, it was even clear to the leader of the third party, that we were actually looking at those assets, Mr. Speaker. And in fact, the leader of the third party on July 6th of 2014 said, the budget says in black and white that the government is looking at the sale of assets, including Crown corporations such as Ontario Power Generation, Hydro One, and the Liquor Control Board of Ontario. She understood it, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you.